Good morning, everybody. And this is the Milestone 2 video. Some things I would like to mention before we get started. I have already created all the layers and line weights on our handout right here. Your window, hatch, stair, rail, beam, column, and dimension. You want to make sure that you're doing this before you get started on it. Okay, well, why don't we start now? What we have from last time, from Milestone 1, is something that looks like this. Of course, this is my colors may look a little bit different to you, but regardless, it's still the correct layers and line weights. So, what I want to do is I want to make these windows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I activate my window layer, and then I'm going to check my second handout, my A5.1, and look at my window detail here. So I can see from here, I have an exterior side and an interior side as shown. And I also have notes as to how to actually draw this. So I know it should be 4 inches from the exterior side. The window itself is 3 inches thick, and then there's 3 inches on the interior side. Makes sense. To the left and right, there are 2 inches for the mullion, and there's a line in the very center there. And these are all with your window line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this first guy. And I know this is the outside, this is the inside, because, well, inside, outside. What I'm going to do is I am going to draw a line. I'm going to use a regular line tool. And not anywhere specific. I currently have the nearest object snap on. You can alternatively just grab a line from right here. Or what I may do now instead is I'm going to use my offset command. And I'm going to offset by 4 inches. Now before continuing, I'm going to use a trim command and clean up the left and the right. And I can zoom out and I can see nothing else is there. It's not supposed to. And I'm going to select this line and then change the layer to a window layer. So this is my start point. From here, I'll go back into the offset command and offset downwards 3 inches. Again, because the window is 3 inches thick. If I was to bring out my measure tool, I should be able to tell 4 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, just like it is on that paper. Cool. Now I'm going to bring my offset command again, and for 2 inches for the left and the right, and then use a trim to clean up those. And finally, I'll use a match property command, which again, if you don't remember, that's in the home tab, match properties under this properties panel. I'm going to grab one of my window lines, and just like so. Next up, I'm going to grab another line and go from the midpoint here to the midpoint there. And I've drawn a window. And that's easy. Now what I can do is I can grab this and I can use my copy command. We've been over this in class. And I'll copy it from a known point. What I mean by that is if I want to copy this window from here to here, I need to make sure I'm picking from a point that is both on this and over here. So for me, this could be one of 6 locations realistically. One of these 4 corners, or one of the 2 midpoints on these lines. I'm going to pick the top left corner, and then I'm just going to click on it and then copy, hit escape if you just like. After I've done this, I already know from previous experience, this bottom section, these 2 windows, are in the exact same location as the top ones. So I'm going to simply grab these windows with a regular selection window. And I'm going to use my mirror command. And I'm going to grab a point, it's a midpoint on one of these lines. And you can see that I don't have my orthographic drafting on, but you can see that if I get close to 90, it looks right. So I'm going to tap F8 and then click and then select no because I do not want to erase the source object. Good time for a save command, and we've done our windows. If you think about it, we are making good progress here. So our windows are done. Next up, I would like to draw my beam line and then do my columns as well. So in order to do that, I'm going to scroll down and look at this page. I can see this beam line right here that runs through the building. It is from the exterior wall here, 12 feet and 1/8 down. And then from the bottom here is 15, 7 1/8. All I'll do is I'm going to do an offset command, OF, and I'm going to do 12 feet 0, 1/8 for 12 feet and 1/8 inches. Again, that goes from the exterior side of this wall here, and I'll just offset it down there. I'll double check this guy here. Great. I'm going to perform a trim command and clean up the insides of those there and there, and then simply delete that extra extension. I'm now going to select this line and then make sure it's on my A beam layer. Just like so. Next up, I'm going to make the beam pockets. It's a 7" by 7" beam pocket typical at either end. So what I'll do in order to draw that, I'm going to make sure that my wall layer is selected. Zoom in here. I'm going to draw a line. You can do it in one of a couple ways. You can draw a rectangle that's 7" by 7" or a square at 7" by 7" and move it in, but I'm just going to draw it in here manually. I know that half of 7" is 3.5, so I'll do 3.5 to the left 7, down 7, right 7. And then I'm just going to simply erase that overlapping line. From here, you can do the exact same thing on the other side, or you can simply use a mirror command from the midpoint, and then that's good. Again, another good time to save. From here, we're going to do these columns. So, is there a note saying where these columns are? Wow. I missed the note to say where the columns are. Awesome. Well, I'll just show you here, and I'll make sure to put it on there. We'll talk about it next Monday. What I'm going to do is a divide command. It is a very, very useful command, and we're going to go into this more detail later. I'm going to simply type in, or I'm going to find the divide command in here, which is in the modify panel down here, and it is one of these options, or sorry, that or draw. Yeah, it's in the draw panel. It is this guy right here. Alternatively, I type in div. You have to select the line and how many segments is there. I know there are 4 segments because there's 1 segment, 2 segment, 3 segment, 4. So I'm going to type 4, enter. Oh, man, okay. I'm just realizing I really should have put a note on there. I'm going to double check on the master file, and I'm going to get that modified because clearly I missed that. This was supposed to be the handout. 8 foot 11 inches typical. 8 feet 11 inches typical. Did that not appear on the handout? I'll double check that later. If it doesn't, I will update it on Canvas. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to follow the note that we have here. 8 feet 11 inches typical. Easiest way to do it is an offset command of 8 feet 11 inches. We know from this file here, it goes from the interior side of this wall to the center, and then center to center, center to center. So what I'll do is an offset 8 feet 11 inches, just like this. Offset it a few times. Now the intersections of these points are where my shapes are going to go, where my columns are. What I'll do is I'm just going to draw one and then I'll copy it. So I'm going to make sure that I have my S columns layer on. I'm going to grab my circle. I'm going to do radius, but you can do diameter. I know it's a 4-inch diameter circle, so I'm going to just do a 2-inch radius circle, and that'll get us the same result. I'm then going to make sure I'm on the A footing layer. It's a 2-foot square footing. So I'm from the center, I'm going to pull up 12 inches or 1 foot, then to the right 12 inches, and then down 24, left 24, up 24. And I'll use an extend command, and then I'll erase that. From here, I'm just going to select this line work and perform another copy command from the center point here, the center point or the intersection. I'll then erase those guidelines and give it another save. You can see we're making really good progress. We only have two things left. We have the hatch to put in the walls, and we have the stairs. What I'm going to do first, though, is I'm going to do the hatch, only because it's easier, and then we'll do the stairs together. So there's a couple components in there. We're using 3 different layers. Okay, so when we're doing our hatch, we want to use the AR concrete hatch. So we also want to make sure our first step is selecting our A hatch layer, activating a hatch command, and then it's asking us to specify start point, but we want to change our actual hatch first. I'm going to click on this drop down, and I am going to find the AR concrete hatch. It should be the 16th option right here. Now, what it wants me to do is, by default, pick an internal point. So I'm just going to mouse over one of these internal points and then click. And then click. And then click. I'm going to go around the building and do all those. And then I'll hit or click the close hatch creation at the top. Great. We are almost there. We just have our stair. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this in just so I can see a little bit better as I'm drawing it. But here is what you're going to want to do. On our handout, we know the location of this bottom left point, essentially. We know that it is 3 feet 8 1/8 inches up from this bottom wall here, and 16 feet 2 1/16 to the right from the interior side of that foundation wall. I'm going to do an offset by 3 feet 8 1/8. And I'm just going to offset this guy up. Hit escape a few times. I'm going to offset now by 16 feet 2 1/16. I'll offset this guy in or to the right route. Now, this point right here is the bottom left corner of this stair. Okay, so here is what we're going to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to select my A stair layer, I'm going to grab a line, and from this bottom point right here, with my ortho on, I'm going to pull to the right 3 feet 6 inches, as noted right here on our paper. I'm going to draw this line up quite far, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm not super worried about where yet. I also deleted my guidelines. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do an offset of 10 inches, which is typical right here. So offset 10 inches. That is our tread depth. That's our step depth. I'm just going to offset this up quite a few times. Nothing in particular. A lot of these, or some of these will end up getting deleted, but this is just for our work as we're going. Cool. Next up, I want to put these railings in. So we have right here, is typical on either side. It's an offset. The railing is 1.5 inches from the edge of our stair. And the railing itself is 2 inches wide. So I'm going to do an offset of 1.5 or 1.5 inches to the left. Sorry, to the right and to the left. And then another offset of 2 inwards again from both of those. For clarity's sake, I'm going to select the lines I just drew and then make sure they're on my A rail layer. And from here, I'm going to do a trim command. I'm going to use a fence, essentially, just to trim out all of those guys on the inside on both the left and the right, leaving the end there. We are almost done. Lastly, I am going to perform an offset. On the page, it gives a rough dimension of 4 foot 3 1/8. It doesn't have to be anything specific. For our sake, I'm just going to offset it 4 feet. OF, 4 feet. And right here is where my split line is going to be. I'm going to select this line and I'm going to change it to be a layer just for clarity's sake. Go into a 0, an A dimension layer for clarity's sake. I'm going to extend the line to the left and to the right by a little bit. Nothing particular, but just roughly even. I'm just going to do a lengthen command, LENDE, and then 12 inches to the left and to the right. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect. This is something that's very particularly drawn, and you'll find it drawn in a couple different ways for career. I'm going to make sure that my A dimension layer is current. I'm going to grab a line tool. And again, I have my nearest object snap on. That may be useful for you. It may not be. Up to you. I'm just going to pick any random point on here. Actually, I'm going to pick from the center point. I'm going to pull up and to the left. Nothing particular. And then down and left as well. And I'll have something like this. From here, what I'll do is I'm going to select both of these and then do a mirror command. I'm going to mirror it across and don't erase source objects. And after this, I'm going to perform another mirror command. I select both of these again, and then I basically mirror along the line that we drew. So, and in this case, I do want to erase source objects. I'll perform a trim command, remove those two inner line segments. That's looking good. From here, what you're going to do is you're going to erase everything above this line, including but not limited to all the line work on the right here, the line here and here, anything that's touching it. Erase all this. Notice how I left this line in here because it's below this line. There's also a line right there. I want to make sure to trim that out. I'm just going to move this out of the drawing. So, and that is your milestone number 2. I'm going to record milestone 3 right now, so be on the lookout for that for next week. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.